Hello everyone, welcome you all to the Applications Manager. In this video, we are going to discuss how you can configure a threshold profile and associate an action so that if something goes wrong in the environment, if a CP goes high or the disk utilization goes high, in case the database is going down. So for these kind of scenarios, you need to, you need to receive an alert on a timely basis. For that only, we are going to discuss how you can configure the threshold profile and action which you can associate to it. So in Applications Manager, like once you just onboarded the monitors, as in the previous videos, we have discussed how to onboard a monitor. So once you have onboarded all the monitors in Applications Manager, the next phase is fault management. So in the fault management only, we monitor the monitors which are onboarded, and based on the threshold profiles you set, and if it violates a particular threshold you configured, Applications Manager will trigger an alarm. So once you just notified either by SMS or the email action, which we can configure. So for the first thing is like we need to create a threshold profile. So how you can create a threshold profile? So in Applications Manager, you can easily create a threshold profile before you assign to it. So here, once you just log into the Applications Manager, you can see a particular drop-down called threshold profile. Here, if you just click on the threshold profile, click on new threshold profile. So once you just clicked on the new threshold profile, we like Applications Manager like support different type of thresholds, that is numeric values threshold or the string values threshold or the float value threshold. So based on the attribute type, you can configure the any of these three threshold types. So for example, so now we are just planning to associate threshold for the CPU utilization. So you can just create a threshold profile by selecting the numeric value, and here there are three severities for which you can configure either critical, warning, or clear. So right now for the critical, I'm just going to give trigger an alert if the threshold value is above 95%. Okay. And for the warning, I'm just giving trigger a warning alert if it is greater than or equal to 90%. Okay. And in the clear, if it is less than 90 severe value. So just make a note that whenever you are just configuring the numeric threshold value, it should cover the complete range of values here. So since we are monitoring the CPU utilization and we are creating a threshold profile now, so the CPU utilization will be either from 1 to 100. So all the values should be covered within these three threshold profiles. See, for example, for the critical, you're just given the value is greater than 95, and for the warning, you are just given greater than or equal to 90, and for clear severity, if you just give the value like less than 70. So in this scenario, just imagine on a particular data collection, you are getting a particular value. Like for example, the CPU utilization is around 85, what it will do. So it will not match any of these conditions. And as a monitoring solution, we need some of severity to get displayed for a monitor, right? So during these kind of scenarios, when it is not in a configured range, so you may receive a false alert, or you may receive the critical alerts in it during the time of a particular data collection. So in order to avoid these kind of scenarios, we just recommend you to cover all the range of values whenever you're just configuring a numeric threshold profile or the float threshold profile. So right now you need to just give us 90 so that, for example, if it comes under the 85, it will go to the clear severity. When the value is 90, we are just given like greater than or equal to 90 for warning. So obviously it will map towards the warning severity. And if it is greater than 95, so the critical severity will place a high value. So it will match the critical severity. So like this, you can just create a threshold profile. So once you just created a threshold profile, how you can associate the threshold profile? So for associating a threshold profile, just go to the settings tab. In the settings tab under alarm or action, just click on configure alarms. Okay. So once you just click on this configure alarms, you can see three different options that we do have. The first option is configure by monitor, configure alarms by monitor group, and the third type is monitor type. So either you can use any of this particular type for configuring the alarms. So you have onboarded like around 100 plus Linux servers, okay, and you want to set a threshold. So rather going into each and every monitor and configure the threshold, we have a global option that is called monitor type template. So when you just configure the alarms or the threshold profiles using this monitor type template, in a single place you'll be associating the threshold and action. What it will do, it will be applied to all the Linux servers, that is 100 plus Linux servers that you have onboarded in the applications manager. So the threshold profile and action which we are associating in the monitor type template will be applied to all the monitors which are currently onboarded in your applications manager. Also, if you're onboarding another 10 more Linux servers to your monitoring, so what it will do, the monitor type template will be automatically associated to the newly added monitors as well. So this is how this monitor type template will work. So here I'm just giving like Windows. Okay, so once I just clicked on the Windows, and just I'll be need to select the attribute. So here we under the Windows 12, I'm just going to configure for the CPU utilization. So here for the CPU utilization, I'm just configuring the value, the one which we have created, CPU utilization greater than 95, greater than or equal to 90 for warning, and less than for clear. So here, once you just configure the threshold, you can just associate the action which we have created. So we have created either the email action, SMS action, or a log a ticket action, or in case if you want to trigger any particular service, start or stop a service. So that's, you can just associate the service which the action which you want to like trigger during the time of alert. So just choose that and click on save. So once you just save this, what will happen, this particular threshold profile will be applied to all the 2012 Windows servers which you have onboarded on this particular machine. So how you can verify it, just go to the threshold profile, click on view threshold profile. So right now, we just created the new threshold profile, right? So here what you can do, here you can just search for the CPU. So here you can see there is a threshold profile which they already is created, and the use by value, there is a column name called use by, and under the use by you can just see a value for all the threshold profile which you have created. And when you just click on this particular value, you can see to what are all the monitor and the attribute to which the threshold profile which you created is associated to it. And here you can see these are all the monitors and these are all the attribute type to which this particular threshold has been associated. And in case if you don't want to configure for a particular monitor or the particular attribute here, so we have just given the remove configuration option. We just click on this remove. So that particular threshold will be removed for the respective monitor type or the respective attribute to which it is associated. So likewise, you can verify the threshold profile to what are all the monitors which is being associated to the respective threshold profile. You can view by this, and also we have just given an option threshold and action profile CSV. So you can just click on this and select all, and you can just create a CSV file so that you can see like to what are like to you can view all threshold profile and what are the mapping you're just currently done with this threshold profile to the level of monitors and its attributes. You can have a brief view of when you just generate this threshold or action threshold profile CSV file. Okay, and so in this configure threshold, we have just configure we just discussed regarding the monitor type template which will be automatically applied to the currently onboarded monitors, and for the newly onboarded monitors as well it will be associated. So that is how this monitor type template, it's a global level one. Once you set, it will apply to all the monitors and to the new added monitors. And now we are going to discuss about the monitor group. Okay, so just imagine a scenario. So same like you have like 100 plus Windows servers you are currently onboarded in applications manager. So among the 100 plus monitor servers, you have 50 production servers and 50 development servers. development servers. So what your team is suggesting is like your Windows team is suggesting you to create a threshold profile for production servers like CPU. If the CPU goes above 90, send a critical alert. This is for the production servers, and for the development servers, create a threshold profile whenever the CPU is crossing beyond 95%. So they just given two different set of threshold values for a different set of monitors, production and the development servers. So what you can do here is like instead of configuring a monitor type template, so monitor type template, you can just configure a single threshold profile and it will trigger an alert when it violates. But since you have two different requirements, what you can do is like rather than configuring the monitor type template, you can just group the monitors. For example, among the 100 servers monitoring. So as you know, we have this monitor group action here. So you can just create a group, associate all the 50 production servers in one group, and the rest of the servers, that is development server, in another group. So once you just created those kind of groups here, so it's an easy way here. So once you just created the group monitor group, just in the configure alarms by option, here click on monitor group. In the monitor group, choose the respective monitor. For example, I'm just given infra application monitoring. So this consider this is my production group. So here instead of using individual, click on template, and here choose the respective monitor type. So here I just create. I have a particular group name called infra application monitoring, in which I have all the 50 Windows production servers. Okay. So for this particular group, I'm going to configure a different set of threshold profile. Okay. So here I'm just clicking a template. I'm just using the monitor type, and here you can configure the health and availability. And here you can view all the monitor types. So under the 2012 set of monitors, I'll be configuring the action for the health and availability here. Okay. And now next thing is like for the 2012 servers for CPU utilization, as I said, you're going to configure a new threshold profile. So just configure this, and here click on this override existing threshold, so that what will happen here is like it will override the existing threshold profile which is associated. For example, if you just configure the thresholds manually for the production servers or using the monitor type template, and now we are replacing it with the monitor group template, right? So during that time, choose this override option so that it will override the existing threshold profile with this new threshold profile which we created for the production servers. So likewise, you can just create so in case if you have a different requirement for one group of servers or the one group of databases or one group of applications, so you can use this monitor group level template option, so that you can just have a separate threshold profile or the action profiles for the respective monitor type, which is currently onboarded in the applications manager. So this is the second type which I discussed. So first type is monitor type template. Second, and the next one is monitor group template. And the third one is the monitor template. So it's not a template, sorry. So it's a monitor level threshold configuration. So here you need to select the monitor type, you need to select the monitor. So it's an individual way by which you are going to, you need to configure the threshold profile and action. In case you have only one AX or an environment, so instead of using time template, you can just go with this. You can just click on monitor, and here select the monitor type as AX and select the monitor here, and you can just configure and associate the threshold value so that it will be applied only to that particular monitor which you have selected on the respective drop down. So for the individual monitor threshold profile and action configuration, you can click on this monitor and select the monitor type, select the monitor, and you can associate the threshold for the attributes here. So these are all the three ways you can configure the thresholds and actions. Okay, and as I said, there are three different threshold profiles we have. That is numeric threshold profile, float, and the string one. Now we are going to discuss about the actions. So we are just configuring the threshold profile, and it is violating the threshold, and the alarms are getting generated, and we can view the same alarms on the alarms tab. Now, once the alarm is getting generated in applications manager, whenever the threshold is violated, or the server is down, or the application is down, so the alarms are getting generated. Now we want to notify the respective teams, or as a monitoring solution, we need some solution to automatically restart a particular service or restart a particular server. So for those kind of uh, task as well, we have different set of actions we do have available. So let's discuss what are all the actions currently we do support in applications manager. So in order to view the list of actions, so next to the threshold profile drop down, you can see actions drop down. So here you can see the list of actions that we do support. That is, first starts with the email action, SMS action, execute program action, and in case if you are performing any third-party integration and you want to send a particular alarm as a trap, you can also just send the alarms as a trap. And the next one is execute MBM operation. And in case if you are using ServiceNow or Micro's like managing in Service Desk Plus, you can just log a ticket directly whenever something goes wrong on the monitoring. You can achieve that with the help of create a new ticket action. And if you want to just trigger a heap dump, you can have this Java heap dump as well. And we have the cloud actions, virtual machine actions, and a container action, and Windows service action, SQL job action. And in case if you're having any like integration, like for example, if you want to integrate with the Microsoft Teams or any other third-party ticketing tool, or the notification tool. So whenever a alarm is generated on the applications manager, if you want to just log a particular information to the third-party tool, in case if the third-party tool is supporting the REST API, you can achieve it in the applications manager with the webhook or the REST API action. And also we are supporting the Slack action. So these are all the different types of action we do support. So for example, right now we have, let's take an example, Windows service action. So here what you can do here is like, so whenever a particular service goes down on a Windows service monitoring, for example, you have onboarded 10 Windows production servers, and on all the 10 Windows servers, there is a particular service which is running. For example, there is a critical application which is running, and if a particular that service goes down at any point of time, so instead of manually logging to the system and open the services and check the status and execute, so rather than having the manual work, as a monitoring tool we have is the option. So if a particular service goes down, we can just restart or start that particular service immediately whenever we are getting an alert. So we have these automate actions, so by which you can either start, stop, or restart the particular services. So same like that, we have the SQL job action, where if a particular job is getting failed and you want to re-trigger that particular job, you can just restart that particular job using this particular option. And when it comes to the virtual machine, in case if you want to restart, reboot a particular VM or start a VM, if it is down, so we have these kind of options which is available in the applications manager, by which automatically you can restart a particular virtual machine or a particular service which goes down. And this particular which automate action is available for the virtual machines that is hosted on the VMware, Nutanix, Oracle, Hyper-V, or this Citrix hypervisor as well. And when it comes to the cloud action, so in the cloud action, we have a different service type of services. In Amazon, we have the EC2 service. So in case the EC2 particular EC2 instance goes down, you can restart it automatically. And when it comes to the Azure, you can restart that particular virtual machine when it goes down. You can restart it automatically, start or stop it automatically with the help of this cloud actions. So likewise, we have different way of actions to get notified, to get automatically heal the problem when it is occur on your production machines. So we have these kind of different action. So for first one is the email action. So here in the email action, what you can do, so you can just create a SMS gateway, email server on the applications manager, so that you can just configure the any number of email actions. So for a single alert, you can just notify to the multiple users at the same time. So you can just give the two address in comma separated, so that the multiple recipient will be automatically receiving the alarms from the applications manager. Same like that, you can just configure the SMS action. So you can just configure either through the email way, or say through the SMS gateway, or in case if you are using the modem. So that is currently deprecated. So since still you can, if you are using the modem way of monitoring, you can configure it with the modem in the applications manager for sending the SMS. So likewise, you can use these kind of actions, and while creating a threshold profile itself, you can map these kind of actions so that if something goes wrong, that actions which you have configured will be automatically invoked during the time of issue. And now we are going to discuss. So while creating a threshold profile, you can see like you have seen like a particular information that is show advanced option. So here you have seen an option polls to try. Okay, so by default what will happen, the value will be 1 out of 1. So um, if it is a development server and you want to trigger an alert or trigger an alarm when the CPU is greater than 85, and if it is constantly for example for continuously in 20 minutes, for 20 minutes if the particular CPU is in above 85%, then only you receive an alert. So rather than having a sudden, so for example, if sudden spike happening on your machine, and as a monitoring tool, we are just sending an alarm. So instead of that, so if my CPU is constantly at 80 percentage for 20 continuously for 20 minutes, then only trigger an alert. So in these scenarios, how you will achieve this particular requirement? So create a threshold profile. While configuring the threshold, while creating the threshold profile, we are just given this option. You can just configure polls to try 4 out of 4. So what this 4 out of 4 is like, we'll be monitoring the particular server for every 5 minutes. Okay, so in all the 4 continuous polling, so every 5 minutes will be fetching the data. So in all the 4 pollings, it will fetch the data and it will compare. In all the 4 continuous polling, if the CPU value is above 85, the value which we are being fetched, so during that time only it will trigger an alert. So in case the first 2 polls, that is for first 10 minutes, if it is greater than 85, and after the next poll it is comes down to 20% the CPU. So in this scenario, the alert will not get triggered. So likewise, you can just configure the polls to try out values for critical, warning, or clear as well. And by default, so what value set will be here is like the global threshold value. So go to settings, action or alarm settings. So here you can see the consecutive poll count. So by default, this particular value will be stored for all the threshold profile which you have created. So in case if you want to change the value here, you can just change the respective value from here. So based on this polling information, it will trigger an alert. And also, while creating the threshold profile, you just configure the value, and you are also using the polls to try option. And the next phase is here is like, you want to trigger an alarm during a particular time. For example, during the business hours. For example, from morning 8 to 5, your team will be working, and the CPU will be high. So apart from that, like no one will be using that particular server. And if you're still threshold goes like the CPU goes, you want to alert immediately, you can configure that kind of timely threshold profile as well. So while creating a threshold profile, we have an option apply threshold based on business hour. So here you can choose either during the business hour monitoring or outside business hour monitoring. So if you just click on outside business hour monitoring, just choose the date and time, the days and time here from which to which time you want to monitor, and all the days here. So during that time only this particular threshold will get applied, so that if no user is logging to a server, but still you want if a CPU goes down and you want to check on information, so for those scenarios, this option will be more helpful to you and to a team as well. And also during business hours, yes, like the CPU will be spiked for some time and will come back because multiple users are logging to the machine and doing upset in operation. So these kind of scenarios, and the CPU still be high. So better you can just use this particular business or option for your non-business or creation for the threshold profile, so that you'll be getting the correct alerts after your business or something goes wrong. You'll be getting a correct alert from the applications manager, and these kind of business source will be applied to the thresholds and also in the actions. So for example, in this email action, you have this execute action based on email hours, business hours. So what this will do, so in case if you have two different types of shifts, you have shift member is available, so you can use these kind of action to trigger an alert to a respective of shift persons, so that they like the other shift members will not get disturbed during the non-business hours or the currently having the business hours. So you can use either this particular business or in the thresholds or in the actions, so that you'll get the timely alerts on from the applications manager. So in this video, we have discussed how we can create and associate the threshold profile, and also we have discussed regarding the what are all the types of actions that available in applications manager, and we discussed regarding the polls to try option, and we have discussed regarding the business hours action as well, business hours for both threshold and action profiles. So thank you everyone. So we'll just discuss the reports in the next upcoming video.